Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to picture this. Imagine being a 15-year-old boy in a tiny, totally drought-stricken village. You've got absolutely no electricity, no money, and honestly, zero prospects. You are forced out of your home with practically nothing but a few rupees in your pocket and this desperate, desperate hope to just survive. I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a tragic movie, right? But amazingly, this very same boy goes on to build a fast-moving consumer goods empire that literally goes toe-to-toe with global megagiants like PepsiCo. Today, we are unpacking the seemingly impossible rags-to-riches story of Chandubhai Virani, the man behind Balaji Wafers. So let's kick things off with a staggering number, 60 billion rupees. That is the jaw-dropping annual revenue Balaji Wafers pulls in today. It's just a massive, formidable force in the Indian stock market. And, looking at a number with that many zeros, it's so easy to assume this was built by some heavily funded venture capitalist with a shiny MBA. But what's really fascinating here is that the truth is so far from that. Because we need to contrast that with 90 rupees. Yep, 90. That was Chandubhai's starting monthly salary in the 1970s, when he was just working as a canteen boy at a local cinema. He and his brothers were barely surviving on scraps. In fact, at one point, they literally had to flee a rented room in the dead of night because they couldn't scrape together a 50 rupee rent payment. So from 90 rupees a month to 60 billion a year, how on earth does a leap like that even happen? Well, let's map out this crazy timeline. We start in the 1970s with that drought in Dhundaraji, moving to the Astron Cinema Canteen in 76, stepping up to a literal backyard shed operation in 82, launching the official brand in 84, and then finally hitting that first mega plant in 1989. It is an absolute masterclass in grit, and we are going to walk through exactly how each of these milestones forged a snack empire. Section 1. From Drought to Despair. Back in the 1970s, the struggle was incredibly real. The Virani family was actually forced to sell their completely dried-up farm for just 20,000 rupees. That sent the brothers to the city of Rajkot, where, unfortunately, they faced immediate failure in their first two business attempts. Section 2. Lessons from the canteen. Completely out of money and left with really no options, Chandubhai took a pretty desperate step and got a job at Astron Cinema. Now, taking this job transformed what most people would see as a dead-end situation right into his ultimate business school. This brings us to mantra 1, work is a sacred duty. He never considered any task too small. He was technically hired just to serve food, but he didn't stop there. He stuck film posters to the walls, checked tickets at the doors, seated the guests. And get this, after the cinema closed, he'd stay late into the night repairing torn seats, often just for a plate of leftover food. He never asked for a single extra rupee for any of this. He just let his sheer dedication do the talking. And it totally worked. His employer was so blown away that he eventually just handed Chandubhai the contract to run the entire canteen himself. But running that canteen brought its own intense challenges, most notably the 5-minute interval crisis. So imagine a packed theater watching a huge Bollywood hit. The intermission hits, and suddenly hundreds of hungry people absolutely flood the counters. Chandubhai had exactly 5 minutes to serve all of them, often sprinting directly into the theater rows just to hand-deliver snacks. And during this frantic, crazy rush, their #1 requested item was potato chips. But they had a massive supply chain problem, which brilliantly illustrates mantra 2, look for solutions, not worries. The problem was obvious. Their chip suppliers were totally unreliable. Late deliveries, terrible quality. But Chandubhai realized that when nature closes a door, you just find a window. He saw the opportunity. Why not just make the potato wafers themselves? I mean, they were already making these popular masala sandwiches, but sandwiches spoil so quickly. Potato wafers, they have a fantastic shelf life and are incredibly easy to transport. Problem solved. Section 3, frying a new opportunity. By 1982, this side hustle actually starts turning into a legitimate business, moving out of the cinema lobby and straight into a backyard shed. But before we look at how that shed worked, listen to this quote from Chandubhai himself. The highly educated people are not good businessmen. They will spend their time overthinking everything. They need to grab the opportunities. Wow, it's a pretty provocative take on why MBA grads sometimes struggle in the real world, but it perfectly sets up his core philosophy. And that philosophy is mantra 3, grab opportunities. He firmly believes that once you spot a clear opening in the market and you've done your basic boots-on-the-ground research, you just have to jump in. You absolutely cannot paralyze yourself with endless risk analysis and overthinking. So he jumped. And here is how he executed that leap in his backyard shed. Step 1. Reverse engineer a 10,000 rupee peeling machine for just 5,000 rupees. Total resourcefulness. Step 2. Perfect that authentic recipe through all-night frying. When his hired help wouldn't show up, he literally just stood over the hot oil all night, doing it himself through pure trial and error. And Step 3. Expand distribution via bicycles to 30 local shops. Pure hustle. By 1984, they officially launched the brand name Balaji Wafers, which was lovingly named after a small Hanuman temple located right inside the cinema canteen. Section 4. Building the Snack Empire. The local response was electric. The demand exploded so fast that they quickly outgrew the bicycles, moved to rickshaws, and then outgrew those too. By 1989, the brothers were pulling in about 20 to 30,000 rupees a month, which was a huge step up. But to truly scale, they took an enormous, gutsy leap of faith with a 5 million rupee loan to build the largest potato wafer plant in all of Gujarat. But of course, bigger plants mean bigger problems. When those fancy new factory machines inevitably broke down, the corporate engineers wanted to charge them exorbitant fees, like up to 50,000 rupees just for hotel stays and basic repairs. Chandubhai's response? Mantra 4, devotion to work. He absolutely refused to be held hostage by those costs. So this man with a 10th grade education literally just sat down, studied the complex machinery, and taught himself to be a part-time engineer so he could fix them himself. Incredible. And it's that exact devotion that defined the Balaji way versus MNC buyouts. They actually rejected some incredibly lucrative buyout offers from multinational giants like PepsiCo. Why? Because the Balaji way is all about keeping prices fair, retaining that authentic local taste, and partnering closely with local farmers. Chandubhai knew an MNC buyout would likely just mean unreasonable price hikes, altered recipes, and prioritizing aggressive global scale over everything else. Plus, he actually received 500 handwritten letters from devoted fans literally begging him not to sell out. So, he stayed independent. Section 5. Service above sales. So how do they actually hold their ground against these massive international corporate giants? Well, that is mantra 5. Service, not sales. They completely reject aggressive corporate sales tactics. They believe you should never force a product on a customer. Instead, they focus entirely on pull demand over push sales. Make a great product and people will come to you. Get this, they treat their 7,000 employees like family, giving them 0 sales targets. None. And they ensure prompt, fair payments to their 2,000 plus local suppliers, 80% of whom are farmers. It's just a totally different way of doing business. And the data completely validates this strategy. Just look at Balaji's national footprint today. From one little cinema canteen, they now completely dominate Gujarat. They have a massive presence in Maharashtra, MP, and Rajasthan. They're even exporting to the USA, UAE, and Australia. They are officially the 3rd largest snack brand in India, doing it entirely their own way. Now, you might be wondering, how did the brothers survive decades of this without a massive family feud? Well, Chandubhai points to their family business philosophy. He contrasts the Mahabharata, where a family was destroyed by greed and the desire for individual power, with the Ramayana, where the family was saved by compassion, shared wealth, and ultimate team unity. At Balaji, they lean hard into that Ramayana philosophy. In fact, even today, the whole family still eats lunch together every single day at 1 p.m. They leverage everyone's strengths instead of fighting over the spotlight. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to reflect on Chandubhai's unbelievable journey, from a drought-ravaged village to a 60 billion rupee empire. Ask yourself, are you building a business just for a quick sale, or are you building a legacy built on genuine service? The next time you face a huge setback, remember the cinema canteen boy. He saw broken machines, unreliable suppliers, and empty wallets, not as a reason to quit, but as the perfect opportunity to learn and serve. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep building.